proper oversight. And that bill establishing a 24-hour economy authority has been laid, referred subsequently to the Economy and Development Subcommittee of Parliament. We'll get into the details, but first let's speak to a man who reports and covers Parliament. Christian Yali is his name. He joins us now on the phone line. Chris, good morning and thank you very much for your time.
Good morning, Johnny.
Now, we know that finally the bill for the 24-hour economy has been laid in Parliament, referred to the subcommittee, but what more do you have to share with us?
All right, Johnny, so let me even clarify that the bill that is establishing the 24-hour economy authority was laid in the last session. So right now, the committee is done looking into it. So hopefully today, what they would do concerning the bill would be to present a report on it. And then once the report is taken, the bill will now be taken through the consideration, as you know, and then it would subsequently be passed. Now, what happened yesterday was the policy document, like you indicated, but I even recall that somewhere last year in June, the 24-hour economic secretariat led by Guzitando, they visited the speaker and sent the policy document, a copy to him, to the speaker. But after that, we did not see any action taken. And so, as it were, the minority has always been saying that there are a number of programs like that one, the 24-hour economy, also the 1 million coders program, the national apprenticeship program, there is the job export program, and others, that about 15 or 16 flagship programs that were launched by the government, that they were indicating that they had not received the policy document to do a better scrutiny. And also the concern for the minority has been that once those programs have been launched and they have been captured or they found space in the budget and Parliament has approved substantial sums of money for such programs, it would only be right that they receive the policy document so that they do the cross checks to see what exactly the programs entail and how the implementation of those programs are going to be. So yesterday, when the majority leader Muhammad Yarda was laying or presenting the document, he actually referenced the series of calls made by the minority, and he subsequently, presented the report, which has been forwarded or referred to the Economy and Development Committee to consider, and then later they would come with their report after the consideration. Then the next stage will be done.
Interesting. How long do we envisage that the committee will take, given the fact that there's heightened interest within the public space, within the political space, within business arena as well, that this 24-hour economy initiative will be kick-started and be guided to flourish as well?
Johnny, I would say that as soon as possible. Also because the bill itself is ready and the report is ready. It means that the policy document sort of is going to give effect to the implementation, or is going to give effect to the bill once it is passed and assented to by the president. And so as soon as possible, and as it were, it is one of the key items that Parliament is going to consider in this session. So what it means is that as much as possible, the committee is expected to give a priority to it. Also because there are a lot of bills and reports that are pending before the committee. So earlier, when the House reconvened on Tuesday, the majority leader sent that signal to committee chairpersons and ranking members to ensure that a lot of these reports, there are over 300 of them that are pending, that have not been transmitted or worked on and brought before the plenary. And so that signal has been given them already to ensure expeditious consideration of some of these reports. So, Johnny, I can say that as soon as possible. For all you know, like even go back today or by tomorrow, and we'll get to know that it has been advertised on the order paper to be considered.
Now, I know that the 24-hour economy has been talking about a multi-sectoral approach to growing the economy using that initiative. However, you have had a chance to peruse through the bill that was laid and possibly might have had a sneak preview of the policy documents. Which sectors are primary and, if you like, very paramount to this whole 24-hour agenda?
Yeah, so multi-sectoral, like you said, which is true, but then the primary or the foremost sectors, you'd have economy, you'd have agric, because agric, and when you look at the longer name of the program,
right,
it says 24-hour economy and accelerated, growth or an accelerated development program. And so it just presupposes that even beyond economy, it is not just economy, but it goes beyond economy to touch on other areas. So you have, like I was listing, we talk about economy, we talk about agri, because when you look at the country, agriculture holds the country a lot. Just that more often we don't even get to focus on it and talk much about agri. But agri has been one of the backbones of the economy. And so agri is there. Then you look at industrialization as well. And you look at, and that is where you have the Ministry of Trade and Industry also coming in. Then it will then dovetail into the other sectors, such so much so that almost every aspect of the economy, almost every sector of the country would be affected by it. So jobs, trade, economy, finance, agriculture, all of these are some of the primary, but you also look at manufacturing as well. So there is manufacturing aspect of it, there is logistics as well, there is what you call healthcare as well. Then you look at services, and when you look at the services, you realize that there will be different services that would come under the broader umbrella of services, which time wouldn't permit us to go through it. So you realize that it's actually, a big umbrella under the 24-hour economy and accelerated development program. And so those are some of them, Johnny.
Now, finally, before I let you go, I know that the speaker a few months ago was busy talking about how the 24-hour economy was going to ease the pressure or the workload on the staff of Parliament. Do we know if we see any signs at all about the change that the speaker had envisaged some 7-8 months ago?
Not really. Also because the only new faces, I would say new faces would be maybe NSPs, National Service Persons, who from time to time every year we get new NSPs coming to serve at various offices in Parliament. But when you look at the frontline workers or those who are leading the roles, that has not been especially translated into what the speaker hinted at earlier. And so we look forward to saying that because there are times that even when you look at the proceedings, the votes on proceedings and the records, you realize that even the table office makes some few errors, which is normal because they are humans. But then again, it goes back to the issue of the workload, because then if you have to, on a daily basis, record votes and proceedings verbatim, when Parliament itself is still in the process of transitioning into even having the consoles that have been worked on and programmed on the tables for the MPs to get a lot of the documents and stuff on. Yesterday, for instance, my minority chief whip, Anodon Prep, was asking for copies of reports to be made available, not knowing the reports were available on the tablets or the consoles in front of them, but he didn't know. So which goes back to the issue of transition. So yes, there is still that burden or workload which would need more hands to look at, especially for those who do the secretarial works like the clerk's office, who always have to work on reports daily and present them for them to be corrected and worked on. So it is there. We hope to see that once this process triggers with the document being looked at, with the bill about to be considered, then once the implementation begins to take effect, then we'll see the rippling effect, the positive effect it could have on the operations of Parliament itself, especially with the MPs who have consistently made that demand for special training for their PAs and more hands so that their research work gets done or carried swiftly.
Christian Yali, I want to thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. We're grateful.
Thank you, and I'm grateful.
Right. Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, had this to say some 8 months ago about the 24-hour economy and how it's going to help Parliament do its work. Listen.
Yeah, I recall my response to a concern of the staff that because we've changed our sitting hours to 2, it's going to compel them to stay longer into the night. And we're saying that that will be disadvantageous to them because it means they are going to work more hours. They are reporting in the morning 8 and maybe going home 10 or 11, and particularly those in the official reporting division, the Hansard division, the table office and the rest. Yes, journals, they stay the whole 24 hours working here. And my response to them was that they don't have any case at all because we can employ many more. And so you come and work your 8 hours, you go home, another person will take over for 8 hours, the person will go home, another will take for 8 hours. So get more people working here. That will rather reduce unemployment. And I can assure you that the load of work here is unimaginable.
On Wednesday, the 2nd of July, His Excellency President Mahama will launch the 24-hour program and accelerated export development.
And that was Speaker Bagbin and Mr. Gusitano. We're going on the phone lines in a bit. Try and get some more understanding of it. But you're a citizen of the Republic of Ghana. Obviously, you also have your own thoughts about the 24-hour economy. Does it look feasible? Does it not look feasible? What can be done? What sectors are you perhaps aiming at? What are you looking for? And we'll connect this to the conversation about inflation in a bit, because we know that if the economy is running and is running a 24-hour economy, clearly there'll be a lot more to manufacture, cut down on imports, and hopefully get some more strength for our local currency, that's the cedi, or our national currency, that's the cedi. Areas such as hospitality and tourism, hotels, restaurants, bars, pubs, entertainment, we'll talk about nightclubs, cinemas, and live music, events, and all the entertainment in between. We'll talk about retail, supermarket, convenience shops, pharmacies. And I mentioned a pharmacy that operates 24 hours. I think that about 2 of them. I know Flexstar, I know Cabis. Yeah. Transportation as well, taxi services, ride-hailing apps, public transport. Security is very, very necessary. Healthcare, hospitals, clinics, and health posts. Food delivery services as well. These are all areas that can function properly under the 24-hour economy. But the question is, how much is it costing us, and how much are we pushing into it, and how ready and willing are we able to adopt it? With Professor Festus Ibotek Singh. He is an economist with the economics department of the University of Ghana. Prof, thank you very much indeed for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Johnny. Good morning to your listeners.
Great. Prof, good to have you. Now, we know that the policy document for the 24-hour economy has been laid in Parliament, referred to the Economic and Development Subcommittee of Parliament. Some have been raising questions as to the delay in implementing this continuously since the government got into power, the 24-hour economy. What do you say, first of all?
I mean, the 24-hour economy, I believe, is government to make the structural transformation changes that we are envisaging for our economy, because our economy has to change its structure of production and its focus on becoming more export promoting or import substitution rather than being import dependent. And the 24-hour economy is, I read from what the government has put out there, is going to be the blueprint to facilitate that transformation. Now, so it needs to be well thought through, because, I mean, initially when it came up somewhere 2023, 2024, there were discussions, I mean, as to how it can be done for it to have the desired impact. So I guess it is that process of taking feedback and deliberating about the policy that has gone on up to now. I don't believe that it's delayed too much. We need to think through it very well. We've made previous attempts at trying to do export promotion, import substitution, industrialization, to change the structure of our economy and to even improve business processes for our friends, our industries, to enjoy a stable environment where the cost of doing business is low, so that it can also be competitive and then also be able to generate jobs and so on and so forth. So I don't think it's delayed too much. I mean, it's better late than never. So, I mean, we should take a look at it and then quickly, as soon as possible, whatever has to be passed by Parliament is passed, so that the government can rule its 24-hour economic blueprint for Ghana.
I see. Let me invite also Mr. Nelson Kujo Kwagbaji. He is a financial and tax analyst. Sir, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, good morning, my brother, and thanks for having me.
Great. Now, 24-hour economy, we're inching closer and closer towards the implementation of the campaign promise and pledge, which promises to create some more jobs. But then you are the financial and tax analyst here. What are we looking at? What buffers should the government be putting in place in terms of trying to rake in more revenue as people work round the clock 24 hours?
Well, I have always been saying that this program shouldn't end like the way other programs that we have had in the past ended. I mean, normally government has beautiful programs, but the implementation has always been the problem. Now, from the document that was released initially, the 24-hour economic policy was supposed to capacitate the private sector.
Right.
And so the private sector was supposed to, as it were, be, supported in diverse ways for them to contribute their quota towards the growth that we all desired. And so I am looking up to that, most especially in terms of the incentives that that the government intends to give to, the private sector. I mean, those tax incentives, they shouldn't just be like what we have done in the past, and then people were giving money for free, and the politicians themselves turn around to, actually benefit from that package. I mean, it should be something that is structured so that we don't lose so much tax revenue in terms of the tax exemption that will be granting to the companies that will sign up to the 24-hour economy policy.
Right. Prof, let me bring you back in and ask you, now we know the law is there, a policy document has been presented, but what do we need to have and to hold on to before we can convince ourselves that we are fully ready to roll this out and we are sure of the benefits that will come to us?
I mean, if you take 24-hour economies that have been, been successful elsewhere, there are very key components that make it successful. Well, the infrastructure base should be there. I mean, the infrastructure to support the private sector production and growth should enable that to happen. And so we need to build infrastructure, not only in terms of energy, but in terms of road. We need to build infrastructure in terms of even the soft infrastructure, the technology, and all of them to support the 24-hour economy. We should also, at least deliberately as a country, begin to provide incentives to encourage the consumption of domestic goods that are produced. Because when there's a demand for the goods that are being produced by our private sector, there will be the need for them to roll a 24-hour production base. And so it is very important that there's a demand for what is being produced. If you go to countries in the, advanced countries, there's demand for whatever is produced there. So factories roll over, their production over the entire day for 7 days in a week. So the demand is also very important, and it's good that our public procurement gives the first priority to domestically produced goods. I mean, of course, they have to be competitive. Apart from that, there should be in place the security to protect the movements of persons up and down around the clock to ensure that people are safe to go to their places, factories to work and all of that. And we should also make sure that the public transportation is available for people to move around without having to fear any issue about working, going about their normal duties at night. Because of safety reasons and so on and so forth. And also, most importantly, the economy should be stable. And it's good that it's the time we are talking about 24-hour economy, because this is the time that the economy is showing some consistent stability. Prices are stable, the currency is stable, interest rates are declining. So all of these things are the sort of enabling factors that will make a 24-hour economy succeed. And this is the time, once you're enjoying the stability, that we need to roll out a policy of that sort and quickly support the private sector to take off in grand style so that we begin to change the structure of our economy. We become more import substitution dependent instead of import dependent, and begin to promote more of our export along the value chain, higher value addition to export, and stop exporting the primary products that we do. And that will continue to support our economy in stabilizing our currency. It will reduce our dependence on imports, and therefore any imported inflation that will come in. Once our currency is stable and we are less import dependent, and we are providing the sort of demand that domestic firms need, they will increase their production, produce 24 hours, generate employment for the youth who are looking for jobs, sustainable jobs that will help them to also make a decent living. And that is exactly what we need as a country. So, these are critical, pointers that would make a rollout of that policy very successful.
Interesting. Mr. Kwabenu, let me come back to you and ask you about tax compliance and the tax regime tariffs and how they are going to affect the things that Prof is talking about. For example, we want to produce more locally. We want to change the taste of our people, let our people consume what we produce so that we can strengthen our city. But then while they do all this, there will be tax components that will be injected, along the line. But we have a challenge with tax compliance, tax evasion, and also the tariffs. What can we do to make the story of 24 economy better?
All right. So I think this is a very good question. I'll look at it from two angles. The first angle is that once the companies, the private sector is capacitated to produce more, what it technically means is that their sales or revenue goes up. And once the sales or revenue goes up, they will declare the bottom line in a certain position, and that will benefit the government in terms of whatever, tax handle that affect the activity of that company. Again, government will be giving incentives, to encourage more of the companies to hook up onto the 24-hour economy, which means that at that angle too, government will be losing out on tax revenue. Already, if you look at our tax revenue, our collection in terms of tax revenue compared to the other, peers within the sub-region, in Ghana, we are not really doing well. And so it means that already there is a challenge there. Now, if you recall, the One District, One Factory program that was introduced by the previous administration, a lot of tax exemption were given to those companies that actually hook up onto the One District, One Factory.
That's right.
But today, what has become, of those companies? What tax revenue is government generating in terms of their activity? Are they even in existence? And so, in terms of the tax issues, I think we need to tread cautiously so that the exemptions that will be given to the companies will not far outweigh, the benefit that government will gain in terms of its tax revenue. Again, the government wants to capacitate them to, because no matter how you look at it, this whole 24-hour economy idea will be private sector led. If Ghana Publishing Company is running shift, three people go in the morning, afternoon, in the evening, it doesn't really add anything. They are just rendering a service. But if you want the productive sectors of the economy to contribute towards overall growth as a result of the 24-hour economy, then it means that we have to do things differently. Now, the question is, are we going to serve only the domestic market, or are we going to serve the external market? So that is also another, consideration, because if you produce and there is no, demand for it, the goods will be in the warehouse. So I think that the focus will also be more on the exportation, so that whatever effect that will come in will also come to help Bank of Ghana to shore up its reserve and also to support the stability of the city.
Interesting. Prof, I'll bring you in now. And here, I want us to focus on tax mobilization versus tax utilization for the growth of the economy. You find a lot of business people and individuals complain about the fact that we pay so much tax, but when it comes to the government supporting us or helping us to grow our businesses, to spread our tentacles, to widen, to bring in some more people and to even scale up, then we are found wanting. How should the government be proceeding if we get this 24 economy agenda on the road?
Yeah, in some of the previous studies that I've done on small medium enterprises, you get a sense that the private sector are not worried about paying taxes. In fact, some of the firms do not even need a tax exemption if the business environment is right. And for them, what is more important for their growth, their productivity, their growth, is the business environment, which government mostly is responsible for ensuring that the environment is right. So as much as we should be looking at tax mobilization, I think that we need to provide the environment that will allow our private sector to thrive. Because when they do pay taxes. Now, right. So when you hear them complain, they are not complaining about the payment of the taxes. They are normally complaining about the business environment that is not conducive for that. And the tax itself is part of the business environment issues that they talk about. But more often than not, they are talking about infrastructure, having access to very cheap energy. Should we go on subsidizing domestic consumption of electricity whilst we don't do that for the business? These are the questions that we need to ask as a country, that, look, if we want our private sector to grow, should we rather giving them cheap energy for them to produce so that they are competitive, so that they can employ more? So out of their employment, we can generate the income taxes. Because countries that raise a lot of revenue raise them from income taxes.
Right.
And if we have a huge proportion of our youth, especially those from the universities that are looking for jobs, it's an opportunity to raise revenue out of them when you get them jobs. So we need to look at, and that's the issue we talk about when we talk about structural transformation. The business processes are very important.
Right.
How do our businesses incur a lower cost from the environment that they operate, so that they become more productive, they become more efficient at cost, and then they become competitive, even if they want to export. And for those that do not export, that produce what we call the import substitutes, for them to be able to compete away the imports that come in, because they are also competitive. More often than not, Ghanaians complain that, but the goods that are produced in Ghana are too expensive compared to what we are imported. That's why we buy the imported ones. And so if we can reduce the cost of the business environment to our domestic friends, they will be competitive with regards to the imports, and therefore it generates employment and all of that. So, yes, the government has a role to play, but don't forget that government also can make the business processes conducive through the taxes that it mobilizes and expense on the economy to improve those processes. In its rules, government has to look for funding to provide the rules. If it is other soft infrastructure that they need, government needs money to do that, and government collects the money from taxes. So these two are themselves reinforcing each other. So how do we pay more taxes so that government raises enough revenue and they're efficient in their spending, especially the capital expenditure that is going to support the business environment? And that when the business environment improves and businesses are doing well, government gets back the revenue in terms of taxes and so on and so forth. So, so in sum, what we need to do as a country is rather than giving tax incentives, rather to invest in the business processes and so that they reduce the cost of doing business. And I think that is key. And it's also going to be key in supporting the 24-hour economy. I mean, if business processes and environment are relatively cheaper for them to operate. I mean,
great.
And don't forget that apart from the domestic economy, we have the African sub-region under the AFTA to benefit from. I mean, a huge market in Africa. I mean, where the standards are not relatively as high as you would find in the more advanced countries. And it's a natural grounds for us to begin to prepare our domestic producers to do some exports and learn through that process so that by the time they've done enough learning, they can now even go and export to the highly advanced countries and compete there. And that is the way we need to go in changing the structure of our economy.
Prof, I'll stay with you and ask you, so now we know these things, but we will now be focusing on what I will call the low-hanging fruits or the sectors within the economy that can serve as a catalyst bouquet to start this 24-hour economy on, and on that premise, then make progress. Which sectors are we looking at?
Yeah, the first sector that is very important is the agro-processing industrialization. I mean, Ghana is endowed with agricultural resources, and we produce. I mean, just last year we had a food glut. What does it mean? To what extent are the food that we produce being processed at a higher value addition? For instance, if it's fruits, are we adding value to fruit so that we begin to produce the fruit juices that we import from South Africa and other places? Are we able to produce fruit juices out of the domestically produced fruits that we have in Ghana? So the first sector that is low-hanging and is waiting for the focus to add value is agro-processing. I mean, we can process all the type of foods that we produce in Ghana. That in itself would ensure that there's a ready market for our farmers. Because don't forget that the food glut that we've had last year is going to be a disincentive for farmers to produce this year. Because if what they produce is not being bought, it's on the market, and nobody's buying them, there'll be no incentive for them to go back and be more productive. I mean, in Africa, especially in Ghana, you find that when food farmers are productive, they lose out on the market because the prices of their goods are so next for nothing because there is no demand from the productive sector, that is the industries, for the goods that they produce. Because if the industries are relying on their output, there's an all-year demand for their goods, and therefore the prices that they get out of their farm produce will be relatively more stable and higher. And it provides an incentive for them and other private sector people to go into farming because there's a demand for what they produce, because the industries are waiting to add value. So agro-processing is one. Two is tourism. We need to tap into tourism to make money out of that. I mean, we don't have to wait till the Christmas where we are rolling out all of these very nice packages for foreigners or non-residents to come in droves to come and enjoy. I mean, when they come and they are living, the sort of impression they have about Ghana is something that we should tap through that all throughout the year. And it's an area that the government can focus on. It is labor intensive. You don't need high skills for those who serve in that sector. And it's an area that brings in instant forex. I mean, so it's like exporting services. That's what tourism does. And it brings in the forex because they come in here, they do not only make available the foreign exchange that they come in with, but they come and demand the goods and services that are produced in the economy. So it has its own huge impact on domestic production and demand in the economy. Right. Then apart from agro processing and what do you call it, in tourism, we need to look at light manufacturing. I mean, if we talk about light manufacturing, we are talking about the simple manufacturers, the ones that are not too difficult to do, like the pharmaceuticals and some of the light manufacturing, like producing some of these bolts and nuts that will help in supporting the domestic private sector in terms of the spare parts that they need for their machinery and so on and so forth. So these sectors are key sectors. I mean, for instance, if you have a sugar factory that is producing enough sugar for us, why would we be import dependent on sugar? If we support our domestic rice farmers and we are adding value to what they produce, why would we rely on imported rice? So these are areas in terms of the light manufacturing that we need to focus. Already the government has identified pharmaceuticals, light manufacturing, like vehicle assembly and the provision of basic spare parts in terms of the bolts and nuts and all of those things that can be produced within the economy. And if you go to Swami magazine, the technology, even though it's very rudimentary, is there. So we can build up on that technology and also support them so that when the global auto giants come into the country to assemble cars or produce cars here, they have spare parts that are produced in the domestic economy to support the automobile industry. So these are areas that we need to concentrate on. And it looks like the previous government and the current government have identified the same sectors. So our challenges are the same. And we are all aware that our challenges are the same. And it's how to have a sustained policy focus on these sectors to give them the right support that they need to generate the employment and the output that we need. That is very important. And so Parliament should take a quick look at this document and then quickly roll out this 24-hour economy, because that is what Ghana needs to build the resilience that we want.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Kwagbeji, let me come to you. And before I do that, let me also introduce Dr. Julius Jima. He is Executive Director, Center for Economics and Financial Analysis. Has joined us here in studio as we zoom into the conversation about inflation, how it's dropped from 5.1 to 3.8 in January 2026. Mr. Kwagbeji, take a bite on this for me. People say, look, inflation is dropping, fuel prices are dropping, yes, but we have not seen anything.
So
have you seen anything?
Yes, I made mention of this on another platform yesterday that you don't attach emotions and sentiments to this data. I mean, this is the work that was done by the Ghana Statistical Service to collect data from the various parts of the country and come out with, this figure. And so we don't attach emotion to it. And I totally disagree with those who are having those sentiments. The fact of the matter is that we have seen a disinflationary pressure coming down since the beginning of last year. Even before that, if you recall, in December 2022, we had an inflation of 54%. Then in December 2024, inflation was around 23.8%. But I mean, as at the end of last year, it was 5.4%, even far below the Bank of Ghana's medium-term target band of 8% plus or minus 2. Now, the question that you ask yourself is, what are the drivers of the disinflationary pressure? I mean, you can quickly link it to the conversation that we had earlier. I mean, food inflation has significantly reduced. I mean, we had food glut from somewhere latter part of last year till now. I mean, that has significantly, contributed to the disinflationary pressure. If you go to the pump, I've always been saying it, that if you want to test the temperature of our economy, just go to the pump. We have enjoyed relative stability of prices at the pump. I mean, transport fares were stable for some time now. And, I mean, these were some of the factors that actually contributed to the disinflationary pressure. Now, the question is, the hajia at the roadside, the kinky seller at the roadside, why is it that they are not reducing the prices of their goods or even the quantity or the size of the ball of
exactly.
kinky? Now, the fact of the matter is that these are attitudinal issues. You understand? Because, see, the lady who sells watches just opposite TV3, when you go there, want to buy 10 series of 50, she will give you the same ladder that she's been giving you some few years ago.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
But technically speaking, you realize that when you go to the market, even look at the pumps. I mean, I used to fill my car with about 780 Ghana cedis. Now I fill my car a little over 350 Ghana cedis. So look at the savings that I have made. Even during Christmas time, when there was so much demand for, goods for Christmas, foodstuffs generally remain relatively stable, and some were even dropping, marginally. And so, in terms of the impact, I think the impact is there for everybody to see. Now, the question is, how do we sustain this single-digit inflation going forward? Now, if you listen to what the director said yesterday, we have come to the point of stability. I mean, we expect that prices will remain stable going forward, which also presupposes that policy rate needs to go down further, because if inflation is at 3.8% and policy rate is at 15.5%, the gap is still huge. And so we expect the policy rate to come down by some 200 to 300 basis points, so that lending rate can also come down. Now, this time around, we have a governor who is more fixated on achieving single-digit lending rate. What it means is that if the rate continues to drop down further, I know the Ghana reference rate is around 14, a little over 14%.
14.58, yes.
Exactly, 14.58%.
That's right.
The 91-day Treasury bill is around 10.8%.
That's right.
Okay, and if the policy rate is at 15.5%, it means that we are actually inching towards single-digit inflation. Now, let me also single-digit lending rate. Sorry, let me also say that the private sector participation in the 24-hour economy also hinges on cost of capital. you get it? So the fact that you are providing incentives, you are providing security, but the cost of capital is high, that may stifle the progress that the 24-hour economy will make. And so I think the inflation rate is genuine. They reflect actually the temperature of the economy, because prices in the market have generally come down. Prices at the pumps have generally come down. And so those who are saying that, we are not feeling it in our pocket, I think that I will not share in that sentiment.
I see. Julius, let me bring you in, Dr. Jemai, and pick your thoughts about this drop in inflation for the average market woman, the trotro driver, the taxi driver, the driver's mates, the coconut seller. What should this mean to them? Because oftentimes they tell you, how should they understand it? What should it mean to them?
Right. Good morning. Happy New Year, Johnny.
Right.
I think it's my first time this year.
That's right.
That's right. So good morning to your cherished listeners and viewers.
Right.
And then also good morning to my colleagues who you were doing the discussion.
Right.
So, to the ordinary Ghanaian, so we would say it will not mean anything, because that is what is happening. Because if you go to the markets and then you ask them why, when things are coming down, when inflation is coming down, they are just there. You ask them and they, we don't know. Sometimes they give some funny reactions. But just as analysts, we would want to say that it has to bring some kind of comfort, some kind of relief for the ordinary Ghanaian. But as to whether we'll get this real relief in the system, is the simple answer is that we must begin to see some income rising in our lives.
Right.
Yes, that is what is going to happen for us to enjoy the relief that we want to enjoy. The issue is that we have hit what we call the new normal.
Okay.
In times of rising inflation, what happened was that prices escalated, and all those prices have become the new normal. So when you are in the new normal, people are just selling prices at higher prices.
Okay.
And it's been a whole year that government have fought inflation, and that is impressive. And the record that we are reporting or analyzing is also a groundbreaking record for us. But the issue is that people are still maintaining the prices that they are still selling, and the issue is that they also want to be making their profit. They want to stay afloat. They are still concerned about their profit margins. They don't want to reduce it, and that is where we are now. So we can get the real relief when we begin to see wages, salaries also going up, so that it will come to compensate for how much we have spent over the years, the losses that we have witnessed, household income that have been depleted as a result of rising inflation. And we should understand that inflation only measures the speed with which prices of goods and services just either go up or reduce. It's just like a speedometer of a car. So we need to understand some of these principles so that we don't put so much pressure on government, and we also don't put so much pressure on businesses as well. I think this education needs to go down so that at least we'll be able to understand what is happening. I believe I have checked what is going to happen so that we can get price, reduction, and all the indicators government have done so well. The government have done 3. The only 2 left is what I'm talking about, which is we begin to see some income rising.
That's right.
Yes, in our compensation and then in our works and all that, and then also we can get some strong competition in our industrialization drive, local production. I believe one of the earlier analysts were talking about import substitution.
That's right, Prof.
And
that's
yes,
Prof.
so we need to focus on local production and make sure there is competition in the system. And then I believe you were discussing the 24-hour economy.
That's correct.
The issue that government have to be careful is about this incentive. My brother was talking about it. These incentives, people just take advantage of it, but it does not translate it, into real
Is that
growth.
because we don't monitor to evaluate?
You see, Johnny, we do, but if you look at the characteristics of the Ghanaian economy, it's something. People just want to enjoy. They don't want to pay tax. I'm a tax guy. So
That's right.
the things are really happening on the ground. Now, they will trace it back to government owing them, and government is not paying them. As we speak, there are bills, certificate payments that have accrued to government, and government is not paying them. The private sector also depend hugely on government for jobs, for businesses, for contracts, and what have you. So people just say that, with the taxes, we are not getting the money. Why should we pay the taxes? No matter the tax policies that government have churned out, what have we seen? We've seen a reduction in taxes. Some have been abolished. Some we still appealing for more. But still, businesses do not want to respond, and that is how the nature of the Ghanaian business trader. We continue to impress upon them to be able to fulfill that side of their responsibility as a civic responsibility, and I believe that's what the GRA has been doing over the time. So once we're able to see an appreciation of our income, which is our salaries, our wages, and then there's a competition, a healthy competition in the market so far as production will be concerned, I believe the 24-hour economy will be able to support that. Then we can get the real relief that we want to enjoy from this, this inflation period. But until then, we are still in the new normal. Prices have been escalated already. People are just keeping the price, and the reason is that the fear of the unknown, the fear of tomorrow.
Let me bring in Prof, and I'll bring you in and ask you how long it will take for this drop in inflationary pressure to actually hit the pockets of the people. What more can the government do, for example, because we came from 23.8% down to 5.4, now 5.1, and then now we're at 3.8. But what else do we need to see? 1.2 before we start feeling
Johnny,
it? Yes.
let me explain what inflation is, so that the misconception about inflation and prices should be clear. The word inflation means that prices are increasing.
Right.
Now, when you say inflation, there's disinflation. It means that the rate at which the prices are increasing are slowing down. So if we see inflation at 3.8, it means that between January of 2025 and January of 2026, the rate at which general prices in Ghana has increased is 3.8%. So inflation is an increase in prices. So relative to January 2025, prices have increased generally by 3.8%. In the market basket, that represents the typical basket that a household in Ghana consumes. In this basket, there are several goods, which you can split into 2: food items, both imported and domestically produced food, and non-food items. Now, the part about the reason why it's difficult to see that transfer straight ahead into the pocket of Ghanaians is that, in the first place, it's an increase in price.
Right.
So therefore, the only bit is that if you compare to last year, the rate at which prices were increasing now is slower. So for you as a consumer, it is a benefit in some way. So, for some time now, milk has not increased. The price of milk has stayed the same. So I'm benefiting from it in where I've learned. If For instance, I'm a private sector worker and my base pay has increased by 10%. And what it means is that now with my given income, I can buy more things of milk if I spend some part of my income on milk. That's what it means. Because the price of milk has not increased as much as my income has increased.
Right.
So you feel it in your pocket in that way. But it is not for the price of goods to decline. However, there are some items in the basket whose prices will decline because they are imported. And therefore, when the currency appreciated, their prices will drop because their prices are dependent on the exchange rates. So those items, and when you go to some of the shops, you find out that those items that are imported, their prices have declined for some of them. But this market basket is made up of a whole lot of goods that together we have a composite index called the consumer price index, whose rate of change is what we call the inflation. So inflation itself, even if it decelerates or there's disinflation, doesn't mean that you should expect prices to decline. As an individual, you should now feel comfortable that the rate at which prices were increasing in the past has slowed down significantly. And for me, relating to my past, I'm better off when it has not transferred itself into my pocket. And like the other panelist said, if you go to the pump to buy fuel, right, you are getting more fuel. Mm-hmm. And therefore, if anything you do, you factor into the cost of fuel into your pricing, naturally you should reduce the price because the cost of fuel has declined.
Right.
So when you go to buy the kinky, if the cost of transportation was part of the kinky seller's kinky, it might not necessarily reduce the price from 5 cedis to 4 cedis. It might make the ball of kinky a little bit much bigger.
Right.
So as for economic gains transferring itself into our pocket or transforming into our pocket, it means that we need to work more to gain more income whose rate of change surpasses the change in the prices of the economy before you can feel it in your pocket.
But then, so how then does the Statistical Service and the government keep drumming it into our ears when we really will not be feeling it immediately?
So they are drumming in your pocket because what it means is that the economy is stable, prices are stable.
Right.
That will transform into the policy rate. The policy rate will transform into the interest rate. And then the private sector can borrow at a cheaper rate and become competitive and expand production, and then people get jobs. So the impact of macro stability tends to take time to transform into the economy and into people's pockets. It shouldn't be immediate. And like you said, the governor currently has clearly said that he is looking at a time when interest rate in Ghana will be offered at, 10%, or below 10%. As we speak, some commercial banks are offering 15% interest.
That's right.
16% interest.
That's right.
And look at where we've come from. So if the prices are stable and inflation is relatively low, the policy rate drops down, the reference rate drops down, and the economy is expanding, private sector credit would expand. And therefore, firms can borrow, employ more people because they are going to make more if they increase their output,
right,
and all of that. And this is the environment that we talk about when we say there's macro stability.
I hear you.
And the macro stability will transform into pockets when people get jobs and they are working because things are relatively easier for the businesses. So instead of working 4 hours a day, they say you work 8 hours because there's demand for what you are producing because prices are relatively stable. People can plan. People can. That is how we should expect it. But it's not going to transform into your pocket instantly when there's no inflation. Yes.
I hear you. Mr. Kwagbaji, let me pick your closing thoughts on this matter. We put together the 24-hour economy and then the inflation rates that has dropped for January 3.8% into perspective and wrap up for me, sir.
All right, thank you very much. As we all agree, the 24-hour economy is going to be a game changer if and only if it will be implemented very well. As I did indicate, we have had similar, programs and policies in the past, but the end result wasn't that good for the economy. I made mention of the one district, one factory.
Right.
And so we are just praying and hoping that this is a policy that will, at the end of the day, achieve its intended objective. However, as we have all agreed, if you are capacitating the private sector to lead the 24-hour economy, then it means that the cost of doing business, and for that matter, cost of capital must also come down, so that those businesses can go, because tax incentive alone is not enough. Giving them police to guard them is not enough. They need money to work with. And so if lending rates are down, we expect them to go and borrow money to expand their operation. And so it is the expectation that now that inflation is even lower than the Bank of Ghana's medium-term target of 8% plus or minus 2,
right,
lending rate should go down further. Lending rate should go down further so that businesses, most especially SMEs, who actually need cheap source of funds to expand, can actually go in for those funds to expand their operation. I've always been saying that in every economy, the SMEs are the lifeblood of those economies, because see, all these multinationals and giant companies that we have, the day they will pull out of our economy will crash. And so it is always prudent and economically advisable that you support your SMEs to grow organically within your jurisdiction, so that they can support the overall growth of the economy.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for your time. We are very, very grateful that you spent your money with us. Mr. Nelson Kujo Kwagbaji is a financial and tax analyst. We're grateful, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Professor Festus Ebo Texan, you have the closing thought on this one. Stepping for me, and I want us to focus in wrapping up on monitoring, evaluation, and how to also target those that we believe can bring us the quick gains. What do you say?
Those you can target to bring us. Oh, you mean the sectors?
Yes, the sectors.
Yeah, I mean, so I've mentioned the sectors already, and
the sectors.
I know there's some work that is ongoing to support those sectors. I mean, in the past, the 1U1F was centered around those sectors anyway, and the government has come up with a 24-hour economy that is also looking at those sectors. So we are quite clear on the sectors that we need to enhance our structural transformation and our growth. What we need now is to quickly roll out the 24-hour economy with all the supportive policies. And this is the time to do that. Normally, when the economy is enjoying some stability, you make the structural changes that you need, because at times all the structural changes come with a little bit of cost. And this is the time you do that, I mean, when things are serene. And so we quickly need to take advantage of the fact that gold prices are doing well, our exports are doing well, we are building reserve buffers, the economy is stable, the city is stable, inflation is low, interest rates are dropping, to facilitate that structural transformation that we need, so that by the time maybe the external factors are working against us, our domestic production has kicked off under the 24-hour economy, and our economy can withstand those external shocks. So it is important that we move as soon as possible to support those industries. And therefore, the private sector should be happy that it's going to come around this time. They should be happy that things are becoming relatively more stable for them. And like you said, we expect the Monetary Policy Committee in their later meetings to also reduce the policy rate, so that the real rates will be low, so that interest rates will drop for our private sector to go and borrow and expand production. So it looks quite very, very promising in the near term. So let us quickly take advantage of that and roll out the 24-hour economy.
Thank you very, very much indeed. We're grateful that you could join us. Professor Festus Ebo Texan is with the University of Ghana. He's with the Economics Department, and he joined us here. Prof, thank you so much indeed.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And Dr. Julius Jima is still in studio with me. We will be looking at wrapping up. Doc, now, this inflation, you have explained, and the other two panelists have explained, we now know what inflation is and why it may not instantaneously reflect in the lives of the people. But how low can we get to say that then we are in a better place?
Okay, Johnny, I think that we usually the target is that you hit a single-digit inflation.
Right.
And government have already done that last year. still we are there. I believe where we have gotten to, most of the things that government have done, probably government will have to go back and they review some of the policies, especially with the macroeconomics, and then also looking at the role that the Bank of Ghana have played last year, which is the financial intermediation they did for us last year. I have, every confidence with the current, administration of the Bank of Ghana, looking at how they are balancing their reserves and making sure that there's some dollars in the system to be able to support with, supply. For now, since we've already hit the single-digit inflation, what we should expect is the negative, inflation that we are all hoping, which is that will be the time that prices really will have to. Right. So far, so good. I mean, the only target is that you hit single-digit, and we have done it, far better, because even December was 5.4, like you said, it came 5.1, and now we are doing 3.8. What else more can government go again? So now everything is fine. What is left is that government will now have to begin. I was discussing that, is it the time government should look at having a price regulatory board or a price control regulatory board, so that their mandate will not be to force people to reduce prices, but again, to be able to continue with the stakeholder engagement. You see, the finance minister at the time of the budget presentation, he went to the market. People were talking about the fact that the timing was, very close. But when we have this price regulatory control board, what they will be doing for the finance minister is to be engaging the business community. People are just, if not for the education that the media have been doing, people really don't know what is going on. The market women, my brother talked about tomato glute. Yes, you can go and, the price are there, but some will still be selling at the prices that they are selling. So when these boards or committee would be able to engage the business community, they prompt them. So they become like a prompter. Okay. Do you know that this is what is happening? Do you know that policy rate is this? Do you know that interest rate now has been reduced? Inflation now has been reduced. Then they will begin to reflect and go back to their businesses. And this is where costing is very important. But if you look at production, the factors of production, it is, land, labor, material, and what have you. So when they look at the factors of production and they are doing their total costing, now they will begin to factor in their direct material, their direct labor. They are talking about overheads. These are things that goes into the pricing when you are doing production. As for those that do the import, they don't have any case, because now the city has been appreciating. There's relative stability in the system. And I said earlier on that government have already achieved that. And what Gold Board Initiative, Big Brother IMF have supported over the past 3 years, we are on that path.
How do we sustain this continuous positive show of a reduction in inflation? What should government be looking at and doing effectively?
Discipline. Government would just have to be disciplined, as they have been last year. Because the things that we saw previous years ago was, the indiscipline in the system, and then also we've been discussing this financial prudence. So I've seen that the current finance minister is really at it. He's applying his accounting principle. So he's doing the prudence concept very well. He's making sure that all the liabilities, I'll take care of it. But if I'm here to get a revenue, let me get the revenue before I enjoy. And what he's doing is that he has been going around with the GRA and trying to, tell them to be able to raise the revenue drive for the country. So if the government continue to remain disciplined, continue to tighten up, because these are the things that, Johnny, we've been discussing over the years. So budget deficit, expenditure, there is no control, people are spending. And look at what the Ministry of Finance is doing. Now, if you want to buy, if you want to procure, you need to go to them for approval.
You need a certificate.
So we are looking at procurement issues, the things that drain government coffers and put government, finances in jeopardy is public procurement. So we just talk about public procurement, they go to PPA for approval. No, PPA will just give you the approval and making sure that you've gone through the Public Procurement Act and shortlisting for vendors.
Tick every box. But the approval to empower you to demand for it to be paid must come from the finance ministry.
Exactly, that is where the money is. Government budget for goods and services in the budget. So if the line items you've not been budgeted for, or government do MMDA budgeting, the ministries, they all submit their budget to the finance minister. Sometimes the minister will be there, and the minister in a particular sector will engage a supplier or a vendor for a job that you know that the financial burden would be forwarded to the Ministry of Finance to pay, and the minister doesn't even have an idea of what is going on. So now it gives some form of a supervisory role for the minister now to look at all the sectors of the ministries that we have, and then make sure that he's not controlling, because I believe that people are saying that, oh, the finance minister, people are not happy with him because he's controlling everything. No, we shouldn't see it that
Nobody
way.
likes a headmaster.
Exactly. So, and it comes into the discipline part that I'm talking about. Let's understand that the president has a mandate. This is his legacy term. The minister is trying to ride, making sure that everybody is on board. We should understand it from that perspective, and everybody should align. Once we get all the MMDAs aligned with what the minister of finance and the president is doing, there wouldn't be any qualms at all. And what they will do is that they will support the growth that we are expecting. So the key thing is that we should
discipline, tighten spending, and be
more
smart.
financial. Yes, more financial. Prudent.
My final question to you is that you hear voices from the side of the minority that suggest that this growth we're experiencing, this inflationary figures that are dropping, the strength of the CD, etc., are all artificial. They are not sustainable because we are pumping. There's more on the supply side, and in terms of the demand side, you don't see much happening there. What do you say? Is this artificial?
No, it's not artificial. I mean, if you look at the Bank of Ghana explained this thing clearly. What if you study financial markets? What the banks do is financial intermediation. They look for money and give to those who need it. So Bank of Ghana looks for dollars and gives to those who need the dollar. We have understood that our economy is an import-driven economy. So if you lose yourself up, Johnny, you import everything and we'll go back to square zero again. Now, why did we go to the IMF? We said that to balance of payments, we are doing trade deficit. We are in a situation where our trade, deficit exceed the surpluses, BOP support. So we went to the IMF. What did we go there? It's for dollars.
That's right.
So now, IMF has supported us, and then they've tried to put us on the right path and build confidence for our economy. Times from 2 years back the line, look at our currency. It was depreciating about 56%. One of the worst performing currency, together with that of Sri Lanka. So now, God being so good, if we have a commodity, and I've been studying the commodity market, what is not so good news is about the cocoa sector, but gold is doing well. Even recently, gold price was going up, and look at what happened with what Trump did. The price started crashing. So if we have a commodity, all that we can do is to support the initiatives of the gold purchase program and then the gold board, what they are doing. We should pay attention to the gold board, their operations, their financial. I've been going through their financial statement, and they're doing so well. So let's at times put the politics aside, look at the real issues and see, if you were there, what are you going to do?
Should government, for example, be going back, and this is based on a comment here by Neron D. Bonigas. He says, we have simply reverted to the Kalabule era. The government may need to consider reinstating price controls. This situation is concerning. What do you say to that?
I think I said something that government should have some price regulatory control board, just to make sure that people are on check. As humans as we are, no matter what effort that government will put in, if you leave your people to decide, they would always dictate the pace for you. And we don't want a situation whereby the citizenry or the business community is far ahead. Like I said, people do not want to reduce their profit margins or their profit markups. People are getting a price reduction or cost reduction on the side of government, but they don't want to translate when it comes to their margins. So that is what is happening. So I support his comment that they are not just going to force them, because we are operating in a free market era now, or regime. What they will just do is that they
engage them.
Exactly, the tell attitude, because somebody will not know, somebody would still maintain the same price at that level, and then, like they said, being clever bully, they will just take advantage of the system. So when this price control board is there, they'll be engaging them like we've been seeing with the GUTA, the Traders Advocacy Group, and the engagement will go down. Finance Minister by now should now be engaging with the community, and I don't want the responsibility to be by the minister. He's doing the budget, he's doing the macroeconomics, he's making payments, and the same person will move to the market and be collecting price and be asking, the traders that, how are we doing? What's your price level? It's good, for the optics, but we need to have some small committee
that's working
exactly a working committee that will go to the market and then be doing the tell attitude, be engaging more, and then doing the education with the market women so that it will help us.
It's 9:37 here on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. My name is Johnny Hughes, and I've been engaging with Dr. Julius Chima, his Executive Director, Center for Economics and Financial Analysis. Earlier, you had Professor Festus Ibu-Texin, the Economics Department of the University of Ghana. Also, Nelson Kujo Kwagbechi, is a finance and tax analyst. We've been talking about the 24-hour economy and also the inflation drop from 5.1% to 3.8% in January 2026. Now, we will wrap up this conversation with something that the president said about the 24-hour economy. Right after that, Chairman Wontumi Ichibwe-Siako, he is determined to become the next chairman of the New Patriotic Party. We'll get the details right after this.
And over the past 6 months, the 24-hour plus secretariat under the presidential advisor, Mr. Guzitano, and his team has undertaken an extensive national engagement process. They've listened to entrepreneurs, both large and small, both formal and informal. They've listened to organized labor, cooperatives, farmers, and traders. They've listened to artists, technologists, traditional rulers, and religious bodies. They've consulted with diaspora groups, development agencies, investors, and infrastructure experts. They've talked to youth and women's organizations, scientists, and educational institutions.
Sunrise on 3
Alongside the
FM,
private sector, the Secretariat has worked with government ministries, departments, and agencies to align regulatory, fiscal, and institutional frameworks to the program. The 24-hour plus agenda comprises synergistic sub-programs that are tailored to key value chains, and you must have heard the ministers mentioning them. These include Grow 24. Now, Grow 24 is about boosting agricultural productivity, agro-processing, and food security. Make 24 is about revitalizing our manufacturing and industrialization. Build 24 is about accelerating infrastructure, construction, housing, and public works. Show 24 is about harnessing Ghana's rich creative, cultural, and tourism assets. And Connect 24 is about fixing our logistic chains, transport, warehousing, ports, energy, and digital infrastructure. And Fund 24 is about unlocking innovative financing through credit guarantee schemes, blended finance, and venture capital. Aspire 24 is about building the skills of our people, our values, our ethics, and digital capacity for competitiveness.
Sunrise on
And
3
Go
FM,
24
the best
is
in the
about
morning.
mobilizing all sectors, religious, security, academic, and civic, for national productivity and pride.
The